Alright, last few videos have been spent around pentatonic shapes, both dominant and straight up pentatonic shapes, as well as some shapes that are diatonic in nature, major chord, minor chord, major chord, 7 chord, minor 7 flat 5. That's the last few videos that I've done. And those shapes, again, most of them have a very similar kinds of fingering patterns that you can use on them so your hands don't get too confused. And by learning a few of those shapes, you can apply it to an awful lot of different things. I'm going to give a couple of examples, and I'll do it really slowly, and I wish I could say I'd do it really slowly for your benefit, but no, I'm doing it slowly for my own benefit because it works better for me. I'm just going to talk through playing the changes for a couple of tunes, maybe a couple of fiddle tunes, or tunes that most of you might know from a bluegrass repertoire, like Beaumont Rag in D, or maybe a little bit of whiskey. Actually, I'll show you one thing in Whiskey Before Breakfast where you can actually apply that tritone sub alt 5 chord change in the B part. And then I'll do a simple jazz tune like There Will Never Be Another You, which I think I've already posted the chord changes to in the melody, but I'll review that a little bit. And then I'll do maybe a quick little thing on how to use these things to play through something even really complicated like giant steps. So yeah, here, let's do a little piece of the changes for Beaumont Rag. It's in D. Well, I know people play in other keys, but traditional key would be D. So you've got, those are the chord changes. 5, A7, D, D7, then G sharp diminished, which is an E7 flat 9, D, B7, E, minor A7 to D. So that little series of changes there is kind of tricky. So really slowly, I'm going to use the same types of shapes that I used in the last couple of videos to show you how we can use this. A7, D, A7, D, A7, D, D7. Now here comes the tricky little thing, G. That's G sharp diminished. I think I did it just before this. I did a video on whole tone and diminished dominant chord colorations, and that'll cover that. G sharp diminished, D, B7, E minor, tritone sub. So that could sound like this. Alright. Again. Let's do it down here just for fun. That same little turnaround. G, right? G diminished. D, B, E minor, A7 alt, D. Kind of cool lines, and all those come from those shapes. Just me noodling around with those shapes. So, okay, anyway, Beaumont Rag, same kind of thing like in Whiskey Before Breakfast. Now the B part, D pentatonic, so you can see how you can use those same shapes in something like Whiskey Before Breakfast. So anyway, you know, whatever. It's that doesn't really matter so much. But then using it in more complex tunes, like There Will Never Be Another You. E flat major, D minor 7 flat 5, G 7 flat 9. Again, you have to look at the last few videos and work on that stuff before you see that. C minor, B minor, B flat minor 7, E flat 7. F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to B 7 flat 9, D to E flat major 7 to C minor, and F 7. A lot of times we throw that flat 5 in there. So that, again, you can play through those changes with these shapes that we've been learning, and I'll try to illustrate that. 1, 2, and I'm going to stop and explain things, so I don't even know why I try to do it in time. 3, 4. So you can see those shapes can really come in handy. In a tune like that. Now, and that's a fairly easy tune to improvise over once you know the chords and once you know the melody. I mean, second half of the song is virtually identical. The only difference is just that 2-5-1, that descending. Kind of a cool series of changes. And again, like in the blues video, the last blues video, you can play those cool altered 5-chord jazz things simply by thinking this dominant 7 pentatonic type chord shapes a half step up from the chord you're headed towards. So in this key, if I'm going to play so if I'm playing E flat major, if I'm going to go to A flat major, I'm going to play, so you can hear that. So it's really a simple thought process. And, you know, I think probably the reality of it is the jazzers from the early days probably thought of it like that, and that we only later on kind of, you know, analyzed it and tried and kind of saw where it came from, but maybe it didn't come from them that way. It came from us that way by overanalyzing it or whatever. Still very, very good to know what you're doing. I'm way into analyzing music and understanding what the idea is. Okay, let's look at a tune like Giant Steps. I'm just going to go through maybe, well, I'll kind of do it in this part of the fingerboard. B major 7, D, D7 to G, B flat 7 to E flat, 2-5 and G, G, B flat 7 to E flat, F sharp 7 to B major 7, a series of 2 5s, 1 in E flat, 1 in G, 1 in B, then again in E flat, and then 1 more in B, heading back to the tune, the top of the tune. So let's see if you can hear me playing through those changes. Let's see if I can do it first, but let's see if you can hear me if I do it, play through those changes using those arpeggios that we've learned, those shapes that we've learned, both from the diatonic shapes video, the blues shapes video, and you know, the idea of tritone substitutions, which I'm not going to do a lot here. I just want you to hear the changes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Etc., etc. So all I'm doing is on the fingerboard, I'm visualizing the chord shape coming up and the pentatonic chord shape that comes with it. If I were really playing or trying to play a decent solo, I would be changing up a lot, trying to get into different shapes that focus on different melodic notes so that it doesn't sound repetitious. And I change the rhythms up and do all kinds of stuff that would be, you know, more musical. But anyway, that's a way that you can do it. On this, I'm not giving you an exact way to go about learning how to improvise this way, but I've given you some of the tools that if you learn those tools, you will find it yourself. You will find a way that you like to improvise. Okay, there you go.